All right. So we'll get started in just a minute. But does anyone have any questions before we get started? So if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand or message me in the chat. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. What should your lightning talk include? Okay, so I will totally get to that question in this presentation. So if you don't mind, I'll answer that in just a few minutes. And then if my explanation is not complete, feel free to let me know and I can elaborate. So this year, for the first time, we are very excited that we're actually going to have two final assemblies. So traditionally, we have our final assembly in Boston, and we also have students participating virtually in the Boston final assembly. So that event is happening on March 12th at the Reagan Institute, which is the same location that it was at last year. And we will be streaming the lightning talks live on Zoom. And then we'll have a way on Discord for teams who are presenting virtually to participate in the poster sessions. So that event will be from 3 to about 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Then 2 weeks later, we're going to have our very first Southeast BioBuilderClub final assembly. So teams from across Georgia and Tennessee are going to be coming to Brookhaven, which is just outside of Atlanta. And at the Brookhaven City Center, we are going to have a final assembly where we only have in-person participants. So there won't be virtual participants at the Brookhaven Assembly, and that will be from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We do have a couple of teams who are coming in person to Boston and Atlanta. So in that case, you'll want to register for both events. So for Boston first, and I've sent out these links and I'll send them out again, but if you haven't registered yet, feel free to use these QR codes here. For the Reagan Institute, this is the in-person registration on the left. So teams will check in starting at 2 p.m. And then the virtual registration on the right, the live stream will begin at 3 p.m. So
So
any
you send
questions
that on the day, is it? Is that what you're saying?
so far? Sorry, did you have a question, David?
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize my microphone was on. I was speaking to
Oh,
someone else.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Okay. So no questions on Boston. Feel free to let me know if we have to go back. Okay, so the Southeast Assembly, again, this is only in-person registration, and so these are teams just from Tennessee and Georgia. So if you are one of those teams who are attending Boston in person and the Brookhaven City Center in person on the 26th of March, please register for both. So you'll have to register twice. This is the QR code for our in-person registration. So even if you are a team in the Southeast and you're not going to be participating in the Boston Final Assembly on March 12th, you are still welcome and encouraged to watch the live stream of the lightning talks on Zoom and even interact with the teams who are presenting virtually on Discord at that final assembly. So if you're attending in person, you can check in starting at 2 p.m. We will have boxed lunches and refreshments for teams as they arrive. I know that a lot of teams are traveling that morning to get to the Reagan Institute for this event. If you are presenting in person, I strongly encourage you to bring a copy of your poster on a flash drive just so that you have the most up-to-date version in case there's an issue and you need to update it with the e-poster boards. Folks will be there to check in teams and make sure that your poster is displayed. A note for teams coming to the Reagan Institute, there is not parking designated for visitors to the Reagan Institute. Unfortunately, with this venue, it's kind of hard to access if you need to park. So we do encourage taking public transportation. If you have any questions about that, feel free to email me, and I can get you that information about what are the nearest public transit options. And if you're interested, if you're a team coming in from out of town and you're interested in touring MIT's campus with some of the biological engineering undergrad students, send me an email and I can connect you with them. We're still lining up our tour dates. Um, the Reagan Institute has a main auditorium where we will be streaming our live talks from. We're also planning to host our luminary lecture at the assembly just before the lightning talks. The luminary lecture is traditionally given each year by a UCB scientist, and they speak about their education and career journey and are available to answer any questions. Um, if you are presenting a lightning talk in person, we do require that you have only one or two maximum students actually standing up and speaking, just so that we can best manage that space and flow of students. So that's in person. Any questions on in-person attendance so far? Okay, so virtually attending the Boston Final Assembly. Um, in early March, I will send the Zoom link. We have to upgrade our Zoom account so that I can schedule it as a webinar for enough people to attend. And then the poster sessions, you can interact on Discord. Been encouraging teams to use Discord this season, but I know a lot of students still aren't on Discord. So I do encourage you to hop on there and kind of familiarize yourself with the platform. Each of the teams that are participating virtually will have their own channel on Discord that I'll share in early March as well, so that when people come to your poster, there'll actually be a QR code on the screen of the, like with your poster, there's going to be a QR code. And then people who are in person can scan the QR code and it will take them to your Discord channel where they can use either like text chat or there's actually audio available, so that you can give your poster pitch and answer questions that way. And then if you are presenting virtually, we're having 3 poster sessions. So I do encourage you to interact with some of the other virtual presenters on Discord during the 2 poster sessions that you are not presenting. The posters will all be online in a poster gallery, so that way you can see them even if you're not in front of the e-poster boards in Boston. Any questions on our virtual participation? Okay, let me know if you think of any. So we do encourage all teams to participate, right? This is not a competition. We're here to kind of celebrate student success and all and any progress. Most teams presenting in person, virtually at either final assembly will not have really gotten into the build and test phases of that engineering design cycle. So it is perfectly acceptable to present your bio design and what experiments you would have as next steps and what results you would anticipate, and have it a very design focused presentation. It's totally fine. And people will be very excited to discuss your designs. So, as Dr. Becky Meyer was talking about in our How to Write an Abstract talk, sometimes the most kind of interesting thing that people who are just coming up and brand new to your project engage with is the bio design aspect anyway. So you are going to be in good company. If you are not available on March 12th during the day because of conflicts with school or other events, you can still participate. As a virtual team, you can pre-record your lightning talk, and you can even have a poster in poster sessions, and then people actually can leave you comments that you can go read later and respond to. So in terms of what you need to turn in project deliverables, there are a couple things. So everyone is going to be turning in a poster. So your posters, if you're presenting in Boston, we use a company called e-poster boards, and their monitors are on stands, and those posters need to be formatted very specifically for that software. So the deadlines we have for turning in posters are hard deadlines because I'm actually going to be taking your posters and uploading them to e-poster boards, and they need time to format that and get their index ready in their system ahead of the event. So um, the templates are in the Google Drive folder, which I'll email again to Teams, and there's a link actually on the next slide. So the dimensions for the Boston posters, I will just tell you, are weird. The template is set to the dimensions, so just try not to change it. Because if you change the dimensions, you will have to reformat it. Um, for the Atlanta presenters, you can just have your poster in a standard 16 by 9 widescreen format. And so I actually have a separate folder now for the Atlanta poster templates that are in just 16:9 instead of this crazy format for e-poster. Um, lightning talks. All students, all teams presenting in Atlanta will give a lightning talk live. So I will need you to submit your single PowerPoint slide to accompany your 1-minute lightning talk. I don't need the recording of your lightning talk since you're going to give it live on March 26th. For teams who are selected to present their lightning talks live in Boston, I will be emailing those teams tomorrow, and you'll need to turn in your single PowerPoint slide to accompany your talk by the deadlines. You don't have to pre-record it because you'll be giving it live. All teams who are presenting virtually in Boston can automatically give a lightning talk as long as it's pre-recorded. And so we've chosen this because there's not enough time for all of the teams to give their lightning talks. And it is harder for teams who are participating virtually to engage during the poster session. So to give them the opportunity to get their research projects out there, we are allowing all virtual teams to present a lightning talk. I will need that slide as well as your 1-minute recording by the appropriate deadlines. Abstracts. So we just had a great talk last week with Dr. Becky Meyer about how to write an abstract. Some teams have already been working on this if they applied to give a lightning talk in person. I have linked in the slides that I'll share with everybody the recording of the talk on YouTube. We'll be making an abstract book for all of the teams this year. So this year, the BioBuilderClub is quite large. We have 82 registered teams, and 70 some of the teams are going to be presenting projects. So our abstracts are going to be limited to 200 words. So I would aim for between 150 and 200 words. Please don't make it longer than 200 words though. And then I'll be taking all of the abstracts and we'll be putting them into a document that can be printed and shared with people who are our sponsors of BioBuilderClub to be able to kind of demonstrate the student work. All of the materials that you're submitting will go in our BioBuilderClub project library. If you haven't checked out the project library yet, I would encourage you to do so. It's a really great resource to see examples of past projects, what posters look like, what presentations sound. Then you might also see, while you're exploring our project library, which will be linked, articles from BioTrex. So BioTrex is the peer-reviewed journal for high school synthetic biology. Last year, I think about 35 of our teams went through the peer review and publishing process. The applications for publishing are typically due in late March, and the peer review cycle then lasts until the fall, and in each October a new issue came out. So you can freely read these online. A lot of teams publish, again, design briefs And so they're quite interesting, and it's a really good experience for teams to be able to go through that peer review process and get a lot of feedback from there's quite a large community that participates in the peer review for biotrust. And then we need a photo of your team to include in our project library. So all teams turn in a poster. I would strongly encourage all teams to turn in an abstract. All teams in Atlanta, I need your lightning talk slide. Virtual teams in Boston, I need your lightning talk slide and your 1 minute pre-recorded lightning talk. If your team has been chosen, which I'll send the emails tomorrow to give a lightning talk live, I will just need that. So, deadlines. Everybody wants to know. To make this as fair as possible for teams participating in Boston versus Atlanta, the deadlines are just 2 weeks apart. So if you're presenting in Boston, your drafts will be due next Thursday. The following Friday, the 27th, will be the final versions due. Again, I have to upload these to the poster boards company, so this is a hard deadline. Between the 19th and the 27th, you'll want to make sure that you're having your mentor review your materials. If I see any issues with formatting or things like that, I'll let you know so you can resubmit those. The Google Drive folder has a lot of information on preparing for the final assembly. The templates are there. The due dates are there. The due dates are confusing. I did make a little deadlines calculator. Unfortunately, I know that it's not accessible in China, so I believe that I screenshotted that and sent that to those teams. For the Atlanta final assembly, I'll need the drafts March 5th and the finals March 13th. If you are presenting in both final assemblies, I'll just need you to make some formatting changes before submitting the posters again for the Atlanta assembly, just because, again, the technology makes it is different. Okay, questions on these project deliverables and the due dates? So I recently shared with all teams. So this means that all teachers and team supervisors, as well as all students and all mentors, should have access to a dedicated Google Drive folder for that team. If you do not have access, please email me so that I can give you access. If you're using a different email for Google than what you registered for the BioBuilderClub with, let me know. I can add that additional email as well. So the reason this folder is important is because that's actually how you're going to turn in all of your materials to me. So please make sure you have access to that. If for some reason you can't access Google Drive at all because of security issues with your school, let me know so that I will expect emails from your team. There is a checklist that I put inside each team's folder so that you can make sure that you have all of your contact information up to date. The formatting requirements for the posters are there, and then there's actual checklists for the drafts and the finals. So that when you submit your drafts, some of the issues that I send posters back to the teams to get fixed are if you're missing the title of your mentor. So if your mentor has a doctorate, you'll want to put that with their name. A lot of times I see issues with the formatting of scientific names. So bacteria, you want them in italics, and you want only the capital letter with the genus, not the species. So there's some examples of that. Just make sure that that's correct on the poster. You also want to make sure that it's the right size for the e-poster board technology. And then if your text is outside of the boxes or overlapping images, or there's just color contrast that it's hard to read, I'll let you know. There are logos at the bottom of all the templates for our sponsors, so you'll need to keep those there. Don't delete them, don't move them. if there's some issues and you need a transparent background for any of them, let me know. So the checklist, you can actually go into that document and check the boxes. It also has you check that you had your mentor review the drafts before you submit the finals. Abstracts, again, 200 word maximum, 150 to 200 words is ideal. Becky gave a really great talk on how to write an abstract. You can check out last year's abstract book, and they're also all linked in our BioBuilderClub project library. And then on the program that's printed and available in Boston and Atlanta, there'll be a QR code so that everyone there can open up the abstract book. So why are abstract books useful? Because it gives you a way to kind of preview what all of the posters are going to be about, so that if you're interested in looking at posters on a specific topic or posters that are similar, their research projects to yours, you can know who those teams are and when they're presented. So the framework that Becky gave for writing an abstract kind of looks like this. The presentation had some really great visuals and was very specific to BioBuilderClub abstracts. But definitely this kind of hourglass shape of starting very broadly and then getting more specific and then ending more broadly again is a really great guideline. So if your team hasn't written your abstract yet, or you have, I would definitely watch that presentation. Very, very helpful. And if you have any questions on that, feel free to reach out to me or Becky. Okay, questions? And there's like a lot of information, so I just want to pause and make sure if anyone has questions and answer those. Okay. So, next up, in the Google Drive folder that's shared with everyone participating in the BioBuilder Club this year, there are folders. There's a Boston one and there's a Southeast Atlanta one. And you're going to want to make sure you use the templates in that folder because the size ratios of the posters are different. We give kind of an outline of what you can put in each section of the poster. These are going to be on these big, like 55-inch displays. And during the poster session, your team will stand in front of it and give your poster pitch and answer questions when people come. And then virtual teams can be interacting over Discord with people who are viewing the posters. The posters do have very specific formatting requirements for Boston. So make sure you adhere to those. Some things that can really help you in designing your poster is that use a QR code to link your references rather than trying to put them all in there. Even the references, any text you have there has to be like the right minimum font size. So QR code is a lot easier. The e-poster boards are clickable. So you can actually have like highlights and embedded things in the checklist. There's a document from the e-poster boards company that outlines what's possible. So you can definitely explore some of these more advanced features and posters. When we upload them though to our project library, typically only the first slide gets uploaded. So just make sure that you have clear information on that first slide and then you can have supplementary links there. So for the posters up close, they look a little bit like this. You'll want to put your project title up at the top in bold. And then you're going to put the names of your team members as well as the teacher or adult leading the team and your mentor with their title and institutional affiliation, and then the location of your school. I get a lot of questions every year about ordering team names, and it's completely up to you. You can do it in alphabetical order. You can do it in the first author is the student who led the team. It's at the discretion of the team and the teacher how you want to list the names. Then for your poster, Conveniently, you can put your abstract in this section, and then provide your introduction and background. Um, this section here, this is just saying don't change the dimensions of the slide. It's great if you did do any lab work, you can put any experimental details. If you have plans for that in the future, you can put that there. If you have results, you can include that. If you don't have results, you can put what you would anticipate if you are able to carry out experiments. And then we do like teams to include a brief blurb about, are you a new team? Are you a returning team? Is this a solo project? Do you have 10 students on your team? Anything you'd like everyone who sees this poster to know, where your team is from, anything like that. And then an important thing, especially because a lot of the posters are going to be very heavily design focused, is some next steps. And to think, kind of jogging your mind about what we might put in these different sections. Again, that abstract talk by Becky has some really good examples. And then you'll want to put your references and acknowledgments here. I highly recommend the QR code for the references. And I can go into a little bit more detail if people have questions about what you should put on a poster. I have some tools for that in a couple slides. So I will talk next about the lightning talks. So lightning talks are limited to 1 minute, and we're only going to have 1 or 2 students giving the talk, so that it's not like very confusing from an auditory standpoint. There are templates in the folder for the Boston and Atlanta lightning talks. The only difference is that the Reagan Institute logo isn't on the Atlanta one because it's happening in the Brookhaven City Center instead. So the lightning talks, you'll only have 1 PowerPoint slide on the projector, and then you'll be either standing in front of your poster or it will have your voice playing if you're participating virtually. So we'll have to pre-record this if you are a virtual presenting team. And it's really helpful if you can embed the audio in the PowerPoint slide. Just use the standard widescreen formatting. Again, don't mess with the logos at the bottom of the slide. And similar to the poster, you can order the names however you wish, but you do need to acknowledge your teacher and mentor. For the lightning talks, here's kind of a close-up of what that could look like. So I encourage the lightning talks to be not a lot of words because this is going to be on a projector. Make sure that the words, again, are a large enough font size. If it's very tiny, no one's going to be able to get it. And they're only going to be looking at this for a minute while you talk. So you want to make sure that you select what is the most important things about your project that you want to convey and really highlight those. So what was your project objective? Did you have any experimental methods, or what would you do if you had more time and potentially access to more resources for that, building and testing? Kind of what was some limitations of the project, and what results would you expect from building and testing your design? So you can put any kind of like schematic or graphic depiction here. It's very helpful if you include kind of your genetic circuit or any kind of overview of what's relevant there. And I will have some examples from some software that I would recommend trying. If you have any data, definitely show it. I would limit it to really 1 graph. So you don't want to like cover your poster. So if you have key data, 1 figure for that is great. And if you weren't able to collect any data, you can still put details about what experiments you would like to run and what you would anticipate from that. So our lightning talks are kind of like a 1-minute pitch of your project. And I do have some resources linked also for kind of practicing this pitch and deciding how to represent all of the work that you've done since October and for some teams before then in 60 seconds. I know that that's a challenge, But it is very useful to learn how to kind of give this very quick pitch of your project. So this, because I'll be sending out the slides, this has a lot of useful links. So some teams are still kind of working on refining their designs, and that's okay. You have some time, and a lot of time, some time. So these resources will help you if you're in that situation. We had two webinars by our very own Dr. Danielle Gutelias from BioBuilder, and she talked about the synthetic biology abstraction hierarchy, which is detailed in a textbook and a whole section of a handbook. And the first webinar covered kind of like system level design. And then in the second webinar, we really dived into the design, the device and parts level design. So I think that's very helpful. We also discussed how to represent some of the genetic circuits. Another talk that I've mentioned a few times now is Becky's Heroin Abstract talk. Highly recommend that. Again, you have access to the BioBuilderClub book. You have access to the BioBuilder textbook. The BioBuilderClub Google Drive is where the templates are, but there's also more resources there. And then other teams and mentors and BioBuilder staff are on Discord. So if you haven't joined yet, highly recommend it. I know that some people aren't able to access Discord from school. So unfortunately, I have not come up yet with a perfect system that everyone can access internationally from all schools. But if you have suggestions, I'm all ears. Also, your team's mentor is a really good resource. If you haven't been in touch with your mentor, you haven't talked to them yet, now would be a great time to reach out. Mentors can kind of help you shape what you have into a really good presentation. You can take a look at your abstracts and your project design and just kind of help everything come together in the next couple of weeks. So design tools that are free. Although this does look like it says that they're free of design, but that's not what I meant. A tool that I highly, highly recommend that like everyone check out is BioRender. So it's free. You can make amazing figures that are very professional looking. In fact, professionals use them. And for synthetic biology, they have a lot of great resources, including the little pictograph things for the synthetic biology open language. So those are those little shapes for the terminators, promoters, ribosome binding sites. All those little ones are in BioRender. So that way it's easy to depict your system without having to like in PowerPoint, like be using arrows and clip art and whatever. So BioRender, highly recommend it. If you're not familiar with the whole synthetic biology open language, the link here, it's really, really useful to kind of convey things in a visual format. So you can definitely put those figures on your posters and your lightning talks. So there's a lot of free QR code generators, so it doesn't really matter which one you use. But I would recommend that you definitely put all of your citations on a document and then have a QR code linking that to your poster because there's just not going to be enough room to keep the font size large enough. And then I also recommend that you, I know this is like a lot of stuff for making a poster, but these are really important skills as you continue in your science education. So visual accessibility is important on posters. And not just for people who are colorblind or need high contrast, but also, it's just makes it easier to read and navigate your poster for everyone. So before you pick any crazy color schemes, you might want to check the contrast checker or this color blindness simulator thing where you can upload your picture of the poster and make sure that it's going to be legible. This is really useful because people are going to be looking at your posters from different distances on these giant screens. And so the easier it is to process visually, the more they'll get out of your poster. So highly recommend. If you are looking for a resource and you can't find it, there are pretty good odds that it is in the MIT Biological Engineering Communication Lab resources page. It's got like everything you could ever want, tools for data visualization, tips on poster design, all sorts of things. So if you need a tool, check it out. Then there's another communication lab from MIT that had specifically tips for poster presentations. You might have to, in the link, kind of scroll down a little bit, but it has information on kind of preparing your poster pitch and then how to optimize it based on who's coming up to you. Because in the poster session, you're not just going to like stand in front of your poster and talk for 10 minutes, you know, people will be coming up to you. Some people might just be like, tell me about your project. Others might have specific questions. Some people who come up to your poster are going to be researchers. Some are going to be fellow students. Some are going to be familiar with their topic, and for some people, your topic might be brand new. So you want to kind of practice adapting what you say based on the person in front of you talking to you about your poster right then. So, the last slide. If you need help, please feel free to email me at any time. Especially if you're having issues meeting with your mentor, mentor communication difficulties. I know like some of the school firewalls and things are insane and emails just get lost. If you have any questions about what you should include or how you should format these materials, let me know. I'm happy to give feedback. And I will be reviewing all of the materials between the draft and the final being due, so that way we have everything in on time. Yeah. So, questions? Anyone? Any questions? Projects, final assembly, logistics, project deliverables. No questions? Um, Ibrahim, did I answer your question about what your lightning talk should include? Wonderful. Okay, so I will send the recording of this meeting and the slides themselves to all of their teams. I know it's kind of a lot of information, a lot of moving pieces here. I'm gonna pull everything together in the next few weeks. So please, please, please reach out. That is why I am here to help support teams and mentors. So also if you're a mentor and you're having problems getting in touch with your team, please let me know. We have some different kind of ways to reach students and mentors if there's communication problems. So thank you all for joining me. I hope this was helpful, and I hope to see all of you at the final assemblies. So I will be at both of them. I'm very excited. So thanks everyone. Have a good night. Bye.